if you've got a new client coming in and they, you're meeting them at your house or somewhere else, or it's just a hotspot where, it's $9 an hour for a desk, they're not going to feel almost that professionalism. Yeah. Whereas I feel that helps the designers elevate slightly to the level that they need to be, so that the client feels, oh yeah, these guys know what they're doing.
Hi, I'm Beth, the founder of More Time to Design and your host of the Design Dialogues podcast. I've been a designer for the last 12 years and I've run my own studio for 5, and I know how hard it is to run a successful business. You not only need to be great at designing, but you need to be great at all the other things as well. I created More Time to Design, a software platform to help designers run efficient studios, and I've created the Design Dialogue podcast to help us all learn together. Each week, we will meet professionals who are at the top of their game doing things that help us run our studios. We'll have conversations with social media managers, interior design mentors, copywriters, stylists, photographers, suppliers, and also designers who have been in the game for a long time and who have such a wealth of knowledge to share. I hope that each week you feel inspired and informed at the end of each of our design dialogues. So join me for the Design Dialogue podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues. This week I am chatting with Jane Fyfe, who is from Forums Design and also runs a design co-working space called Design Home on Churchill over in Perth. Hi Jane, how are you?
Hi Beth, very well, thank you. Thank you for having me this morning.
It's my pleasure. So I love to start all of our dialogues with finding out, what can you see out your window today?
Well, I put the blind up because the sun's shining in, but normally it's a frangipani tree and blue sky. So
beautiful, beautiful. So tell me a little bit about your business. Now, I love this concept of Design Home on Churchill. I think, I can't believe it's we don't have more of these, but I would love to hear a little bit about your design journey and business journey and how you've gotten to where you are today.
So I just waffle on. Excellent. So I've been in the industry forever. I was really situated up in Balcatta, really lovely studio, 140 squares, and I was there for probably 16 years. Yeah. And just moseying along mainly by myself. You're pretty isolated, a few people in offices downstairs who were lovely. But I had another designer say to me as I was getting older and just a couple of life changes that had happened, it was like, oh yeah, I'll just carry on working. I probably wasn't learning a lot more myself. I was just being in residential. I was just doing the same thing, but for, lovely clients, selecting the tiles, selecting all the finishes, all the exterior, the furniture. But I really was just finishing off my working life, for the next 10 or 15 years, doing the same thing. And someone said, oh, have you got a plan? And I was there, oh yeah, I'm going to get up today. That was as far as my plan went. I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to the office and I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
And then that sort of stuck in my head, and it was plan. Because most of your life, you just wing it. You have your family, you buy a house, you go through all the steps that that have been set up before us.
Yeah.
Without even realizing. And then I thought, a plan. Okay, I thought the things that are about my job that are difficult, it's always the stock, like the heavy lifting tiles, taking things in and out of the car, running around sometimes. And I thought, I want to get a new studio. I don't want to be out of sort of the city and main areas where we've got one lunch bar and a petrol station. I thought, I actually now coming into this latest phase, I want to actually have a life as well.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm going to move from where I'm super secure, low costs, into something else that's more exhilarating, where I feel alive. I could go out for lunch. It's more central for my clients and for myself. So I wanted to change everything. And in doing that, I ended up at an event for one of our tile shops, Ceramic City. And I was chatting to a few other designers, as you do at these events. And I said, look, I'm thinking of moving and getting a studio where we can share all the resources, the tiles, the laminates, the veneers, the carpets. and have different rooms that you can come and you can belong, and we can talk about issues, problems. Would you be interested? And a couple of the girls who worked from home said, that sounds great. I said, great, we haven't found anywhere yet, but I just wanted to know if it sounded like a really great idea. And then that really simple conversation with two designers who did come on board and were a very integral part of the beginning, sort of spurred us on. And then my lovely assistant and friend, Lynn, we started the search for a place, looking at Leederville, Nedlands, a lot of central sort of areas.
Yeah.
And then we found our lovely place on Churchill, which is right near a main strip where there's the cafes, the restaurants, you know, places to get bed linen, places to get accessories.
Yeah.
And also we now have a lot of other design things like the rug establishment, decor and design, lots of design related things are in the same area now.
Yeah, wow.
So it's worked out purely by fluke, I think, an exceptionally good space to be at a great location.
Yeah,
and
wow.
From there we just started. It was an old building, 1910, I think, dentist for 25 years. So it's taken us a year and a half to make it livable, and also where we can actually house the amount of products that you need for interior and exterior builds, which was far more than I imagined, even being in the industry this long.
Yeah.
And then we are still evolving though, because we do up a room, as you could see on the Instagram, there's samples and handles and that. We'll finish it and then we'll think, oh, it's not quite right. We need more. We need to change it. Then we ask the girls, because we're always after the input as well. I don't want to do it my way and say,
yeah,
this is how the room should look. This is where the sample should be. If the girls come in and say, well, look, that's really awkward, I find it difficult to find, all that sort of thing. So we're evolving with the girls that have come on board, and they've come on board organically. We haven't really sort of advertised or spruiked ourselves or anything like that. But here we are, and we're sort of working forward and learning sort of as a group, really.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. I love that concept that it's very collaborative, and it's not kind of just you setting the direction and it's kind of your way or the highway. It sounds really like a beautiful collaborative workspace, which is so lovely, because when you do work on your own, it can be so lonely. And yeah, so that's really lovely. And so tell me a little bit about the spaces that you have there at Design Home on Churchill.
Well, what we've done is, the building being older and started off being obviously a house, it's set back from the road, whereas we found a lot of the other commercial properties we were looking at were on the footpath. So it feels very business, whereas being set back, it's given us the ability right from the entrance to be able to have a soft entrance, put some seating out the front, have sort of a cottage garden. So as soon as clients or the designers sort of step in, you do feel a bit more relaxed, not like bang, I'm into business. So we wanted that soft entrance. Then as you come through, there's a front presentation area where that's where clients that come in will sit, offer them a cup of tea. If the designer's in the back room, still setting up their computer or samples. So it's a soft meet and greet area, presentation area. I work up the front, try not to make it too messy. And then we come down and we've got the colour lab, which is our resource centre. And that's where we try and house most of the products that you'd be required for selections. Then we have a conference room for seating for 6, and a little chill zone where you can sit with your laptop and your headphones when no one's around. Then we come down the corridor, we've got the world's smallest kitchen, but we have managed to squeeze all the things that we want to showcase, like different benchtop edges, integrated fridge, integrated dishwasher, double bin, pull-out condiment drawers. You wouldn't fit more than 2 people in there. Hart and Co gave us some really amazing, top-end appliances.
Yeah.
And it's tiny, but it's sort of beautiful as well.
Yeah.
And then we walk past that and we come into the 2 back offices, and they have smaller amounts of samples that are in the main colour lab, so that if you're in one of the back offices working with the client, you don't have to keep running back and forward. So, you've got some laminex, you've got your polytex, you've got some tiles, you've got some carpets, so all that sort of stuff. And you can quickly grab, because when you're meeting clients, it's often establishing, you know, do you like cream? Do you like white? Do you like grey? So you can bring things out and they can say too light, too dark, too yellow. So it's a really good way to narrow it down. And we want the space also to make the selections go more efficiently.
Yeah.
So that it's not taking 3 days to choose a bench top.
Yeah.
So it's better for the builder, it's better for the designer, and the client isn't getting as stressed as well because they're able to make decisions a lot quickly because most people are time poor.
Yeah.
We operate on a 24-hour basis. If a designer wants to come in here at 2 a.m. and do a flat lay, if they want to see a client at 7 p.m. because the clients are working and that's the only time they've got, that's fine as well. We've got the Notice app on our phones, so it's just keyless entry and a backup key in the lockbox for when technology just does not work.
Always important. Sometimes tech does go a bit awry.
And then we've just got a little powder room that, unfortunately, it's just got the one toilet. We'd like more, but that's all the space we've got. And even in there, we've managed to squeeze in some Porter's Timbers paneling, you know, 3 or 4 different tiles, painted finishes. So in each room, there's a lot going on that you can also show your clients, you know, that's an ABS edge, that's a 2-pack paint finish, or, you know, everything like that, motorized window treatments, so that you can actually walk around with your client if you need to as well, and they can see it in a home environment.
Yeah, so it's almost like the combination of a co-working space, but a showroom of as many kind of finishes, but also kind of different technologies and all that, really, that you can imagine.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to, if I'm going to do it, I didn't just want to have a place where they can bring their laptop and hotspot.
Yeah.
And they had to drag a trolley full of samples in. Yeah. Because what's the point? You want the client to feel when they walk in the door as well that you belong to a professional space. It almost makes, if it's a new client for one of the girls, there just seems to be girls at the moment, not that we're adverse to boys. If you've got a new client coming in and they, you know, you're meeting them at your house or somewhere else, or it's just a hotspot where, you know, it's $9 an hour for a desk, they're not going to feel almost that professionalism. Whereas I feel that helps the designers elevate slightly to the level that they need to be, so that the client feels, oh yeah, these guys know what they're doing. That's what it's about. And we also make it so that in each room we've got, you know, chargers for your phone, chargers for your laptop. So it's not, oh God, I left my charger at home, my battery's nearly flat. We are trying to take all the things out of it that make it really difficult. You know, you run out the door, you've dropped the kids, it's like, oh, I forgot something. So we can manage.
Yeah, wow. And so, I mean, that last little bit that you were talking about really helping the designers that are part of Design Home on Churchill really elevate their business, because it is quite an expense to go from, you know, having a home office to having your own studio. And, you know, quite often I hear designers talk about there's that almost that kind of pull between what does it bring my business if I do reach out and have a studio? Does it bring me a level of professionalism? Does it make me feel and look more kind of serious about my business? But there can be huge cost implications to that. So have you seen a real kind of almost mind, what's the word I'm looking for? Like mind shift in your designers, where they walk in and they're like, okay, I have this professional surrounding around me, this professional office that I can use. Do you see a real kind of almost growth in your designers once they start using your space?
100%. At first it was like, you know, because we were still doing the building and there was like, wasn't quite as pretty as it is now. But I've definitely seen some of the designers in the beginning, you know, not having any work, questioning, am I in the right profession? You know, and all that sort of thing. And their confidence, a lot of the younger ones do amazing SketchUp, amazing presentations, not like my sort of stick figure drawings. But yet they didn't have the confidence of the belief in themselves. So I think the space has helped them believe in themselves. And when we have events, they're able to chat to other designers and realize we're all the same. It doesn't matter what age, what skill set. We all get nervous. We all doubt ourselves. We all have to meet ridiculous expectations, not just does the house look nice, now you're going to live happily ever after.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's so having the space and then having these really surprise friendships start, I think that's put everyone in a more positive light in themselves. And when you feel confident and you feel that you have a space and people that are going to back you, I think it takes so much out of the equation, and you can just focus on what you actually do well. And what you do well is your design, is your ability to have clients trust you with one of the biggest decisions of their life.
Yeah.
So I feel the space has helped a lot of the girls, especially they start off, they're really nervous, and also they don't know anyone. And even to get samples as a sole designer who may not have, they may not be well known for one of not being able to put that in a better light. They might not be one of the top ones that have really elevated themselves, but they're just as skilled. For them to get sampling sometimes is like, oh, well, who are you? How many houses do you do a year? You know, all that sort of stuff. But as a group, the suppliers almost trip over themselves now to give us materials, to invite us to industry events as a group, to come and see us. And a lot of the girls also use the address as a place where they'll have all their samples delivered. You know, they might have some samples from Warwick delivered here. They might have some taps or anything that we may not have. They'll get it delivered. They use it as their address on their website, all that sort of stuff. So I think it has helped this whole, like a circle, where it started off with the really small idea and it's gone all the way around with so many things that even I didn't consider where it would go.
And I was going to ask you that. Has it kind of, I suppose, exceeded your expectations, but have there been benefits that you like had no idea that would come about, kind of thing? Like, has it really just gone much further than you were expecting?
100%. I was at a stage where I honestly thought, I'd seen a lot of the young girls working. I thought, oh my God, I'm actually so rubbish. Not that I'm not great with clients and not that I don't super care and I know I can get a good result, but when you maybe can't present your physical work at that same level in the beginning. And so for me to have people ask me questions and how to manage a client where there might be an issue and things, I've really felt more alive in myself and more, I was going to make me teary now. And just that, you know, a part of something as well.
Yeah, and I think that's so beautiful. I think that I think there's nothing nicer than being able to share your knowledge and help people on the way up. I think, especially if you've received that through your journey, and interior design is, and I don't think it's the only industry in the world, but interior design is harsh. Like, it can be really, really harsh. And I think sometimes when you have just finished school and you're going out on your own, it can be really lonely. It can be daunting. It can be like, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to get a client? How am I ever going to get a client that allows me to do the stuff that you see in magazines, when all I can seem to is get a client who's got like the tiniest budget and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think being able to mentor younger designers in a way that is really practical as well is just, it's such a gift to the industry. It really is. So yeah, they're a lucky group of designers that have kind of got you kind of guiding them in a way.
Thank you. And I've felt special that they have asked, because you know yourself, but you don't always think that, like I was saying, that you have anything to offer, but realizing that we have helped a few of them, you know, when they've had a few tears and things like that, has been really lovely. We also take on probably about 8 work experience students a year. We let TAFE know that when they've got students, if they want to come in and grab some samples, they can, because once again, it's really hard for them to get samples. The tile shop and things like that, they think, oh, well, what job is this for? You know, product and all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to start at the base level, and I'm really honest with the students as well that it's not necessarily a glamorous job. You know, I give them a full house plan and they've got to do everything. You know, pick the light switches, and then they've got to present it to me and say, I was like, well, why did you choose this tile? Is this going to be non-slip? And let them know all the things that aren't just, ta-da, this looks really pretty on a piece of paper, and, you know, all that. So that's been really good as well. And a lot of them keep in touch. They pop in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been super, super rewarding.
Yeah.
And just to touch on something you mentioned earlier, when you were saying, if it's all right, I do jump around a bit.
Yep. No, of course.
But that's the designer's mind, isn't
Exactly.
it? You're on the wall, then you're on the lounge.
It's never a straight line.
You know, you're at the shops looking at a lounge and you think, oh, that could be nice for so-and-so. That's nice for so-and-so. It was like, I was chatting to one of the girls the other day who's got super busy and is now going through that debate of, do I get my own place and all that sort of stuff. And I said, I'm so happy that you're busy. But I said, there's all the things that you don't realise, like there's the electricity, the internet, the toilet paper, the bottled water, the chocolates, the 5,000 different types of milk we now have to have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I had one the other day. I thought I had it all covered with the teas, the coffee, the peppermints, the herbals, and it was like, have you got decaffeinated coffee? And I was there like, oh my God, I don't have decaffeinated coffee. So when the girls come in as well, they don't have to worry. Normally we try and have everything, and everything's nice and clean and everything's done. We put the waters on the table. We'll ask their clients if they want a coffee. And the things that if they're there in their own space, they've got to get there an hour early. And they've got to run around. They've got to think, oh God, the milk's off. I've got to go here, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So it's so much more than just a space.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And even our gardens, if they have a space and it's got gardens, which we keep the front and the back nice. We're growing lettuce and herbs and a few veggies and peaches and passion fruit and lime. That's mainly for our gin and tonics, mind you.
Yeah.
But we do want it to be a space that does feel like a home, and we're actually trying to use the space as well. We're trying to use it on a practical purpose. Next year, we'll probably get a little compost, a little worm farm. And yes, I am here most of the time. Yeah. Even on weekends. Doing those, you know, those little bits that people don't even know that. They just think they happen.
Yes, exactly.
You're doing things like pulling out dead plants and all that, because we do want it to be a place where if you're sitting outside, everything looks cared for. Yes. And if you have your own space and you've got children, because my boy's older now, looks after himself most of the time, you don't have time to come and do all that, as well as vacuum the floors. Yes. You know, get the cobwebs and all the stuff. So that's another thing, you know, that when you're considering your own space, there's so much more to it.
Yeah, definitely. And just to, you know, talk about the suppliers. So I know one of the things that when I first started working for myself that I kind of, I suppose, missed is we would have suppliers come to us. You know, in a big studio, there was 20 of us. They would come to us. You know, they knew the return was there for them to spend the time. You know, there would always be treats. There would be the newest, you know, collections would be shown to us. Nothing was too much trouble for the reps because they knew that they had a captive audience that had a lot of projects going. And so then when you go out on your own and you're just, you know, working by yourself, you then have to go and do all of that. And there isn't as much, I suppose, maybe love shown from the reps to you as a single designer. And I understand that, you know, time is money and all that kind of stuff. Has that been a real kind of positive from that regard in terms of like supply coming in? Do like all the designers kind of come in at the same time and they try and do a demonstration with the suppliers of that, the latest things and all that kind of stuff? Has that been a real positive for the group?
Yeah, and you've probably seen it on Instagram as well. Like, it's very true. As a sole designer where you've only ever had one client, you know, people aren't going to come out and see you in a suburb that's 40 kilometres out of the CBD. Yeah. And so what we do a lot of, and that's my lovely assistant Lynn, who I mentioned earlier, she didn't realise that her main job would be event coordinating. So she's the port of call. The suppliers will contact her and say, you know, hi Lynn, we've got some new colours, we've got some new products, we're really excited. Could you get could you get all the designers together? Yeah. So she, you know, sends out all the emails and the invites. Then we do like a morning or afternoon tea, and we quite often have, you know, about 19 people. Sometimes people are busy, we might be down to 8, But yeah, we'll do a presentation on the TV. They'll have products, and I always have a few flat lays ready of the products that they're bringing in. They drop them in a couple of days early to me, because I want to have them set up so that after we've finished the talk and having a few nibbles, the girls can wander around, take some images for their socials. They don't have to think, oh, I've got to do something else. That's another thing. I just like to make it easier so that I'm promoting the supplier for making the effort, and I'm also making it easier for the girls to promote the supplier, which then gives them recognition with the supplier.
Yeah.
So it's building this whole, team where all of a sudden the suppliers know all these designers that 2 weeks before they'd never heard of half of them.
Yeah.
So
well,
does that sort of answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And my goodness, you really do think of everything. You really are looking after these designers, like even just seeing it from both sides kind of thing. Like, my goodness, it just sounds like such an idyllic little oasis that you're building over there.
Thank you. That is so lovely.
Do you see like collaboration, across the designers? Like, is there kind of, if one of them's too busy, they know they've got, a group of designers that they can shift the client over to, or if the client's not right, like, are you starting to see that kind of cross-pollination as well?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Just starting recently, couple of the girls through meeting here, obviously really got on really well, and some of them have worked on a couple of jobs together. Like sometimes someone might do it like doing the design or the build of a kitchen, but they don't want to come in and do the styling, for photos and things like that, or they don't like doing furniture. So then they've met some of the other girls and they know all their specialties. And that sort of happened as well. And I've had a few jobs that have come through the front door. And that's another thing being here. We do get walk-ins, and we try and ask them what they want and maybe give them a couple of cards of a few of the girls. So that they've got options. The girls will let us know sometimes as well if they're busy or not busy. So they're sort of maybe reaching out. If you hear of a job that's coming up, let me know. So I have passed a few jobs on myself to some of the other girls, and I know on our little just a very small Facebook page we sort of have that as well. Like, I've got a client, who lives up in the hills. It's too far for me to go. Would anyone be interested in this job? So that is definitely starting to evolve. Which is great. So then the clients aren't let down. And feel like they don't care, and then someone else picks up a job and they're super excited.
That's awesome. And I think as well, like, I love, and I imagine this is something that will most surely evolve more and more, but the fact that actually you do have that street frontage, and that, maybe someone who is looking for an interior designer, but they don't even know where to start. The fact that you kind of have this offering of different designers, different size, like scale and style and all of that kind of stuff, to really become that almost like, that front door to someone who's looking for an interior designer. That's such an awesome, I suppose, additional service that you are kind of offering as well.
Yeah. And we do, like, starting off slow, we put out a sign now that they can pop in for a chat. It doesn't have to be an appointment. We show the locals around, because where we are, it's residential as well. It's not just in a commercial area, so it's mainly residential. So people are walking their dogs all the time. They'll pop in for a look, they'll ask a question. And it's really interesting that I think anyone who has a house, there's always something they want to fix, whether it's an outdoor barbecue area, whether it's a new toilet, whatever. So they come in, they chat. For example, we had a client pop in and they were just looking to put some tiles in their new alfresco. So I asked for some pictures. They showed me some pictures. This happened within about 5 seconds, Showed me some pictures. I said, what's the theming of the house, and all that sort of stuff. And then I said, look, I think this would be amazing. So I gave them a couple of 20 by 20 tiles to take home. They took them home, loved them, came in, wanted to order them. I gave them the name of the company to order them from. It was Odin Ceramics. And away they went and ordered them. I didn't charge for that, because I know the cycle. The cycle of doing a little thing for nothing will bring them back. And then they, hopefully, if we've looked after them, which I feel we were kind and everything, they will tell their friends and other people in the area that it's a nice place to pop in. We had another client that walked in, and we've covered our old fireplace in the front presentation area just with these beautiful long marble flutes that were the height to go at the sides of the fireplace. Someone walked past me and said, "Oh my God, I've got the exact fireplace. I hate the tiles. That's what I want to do." So it's the smallest thing that can lead to something. And that's what I've said to the girls as well. They say, "Oh, it's just a little job." I said, "Yes, but by looking after that person, making them happy, when you have something that brings at home, that brings you joy, and your friends come in and say, 'Oh my God, that's amazing.' It's that just explaining to them that it doesn't have to be the biggest, greatest job. It's the smallest job that will lead you to the next client. Like, I have managed my entire career on recommendations. And by doing things like that, by helping even someone who might just need a paint colour, but they're a bit nervous, or someone who's had a bad experience. And that's sort of what I try and tell some of the younger girls as well. It's not all about
those little breadcrumbs that kind of.
And because there's so much emphasis now on know your worth.
Yes.
Your worth is also to be a kind person. It's so underestimated. It doesn't mean you're going to get used. You love what you're doing anyway. We love talking to people. We love getting to know people. If we don't get to know them, we can't provide them with a really good result. So that's what this place is, I guess. It's a place of introduction. It's a place of warmth. We also have 2 windows at the front, little bay windows, which we change our displays and we promote some of our suppliers. And the girls are also quite welcome to do a display and put their own business sign in there as well.
Oh, wow. So such an amazing business that you've got here. I can see that people would be like, "Can you come to the East Coast?" Like, so as you said, like, you've got 18 designers who are part of the kind of group at the moment. And so you are talking to designers all the time. I would love to hear from you about some of the challenges that you think the interior design industry is facing at the moment.
Realistically, I find, and a lot of these conversations with the girls come about after we've had one of our presentations. We all stand around talking about just organically what jobs we're working on. We've got an issue, and then one of the other designers say, "Oh my God, I've got the same issue." I think for a lot of us, it is the trades. We still have a lot of, what would you call it? Things aren't moving as quickly as they should. Some of the workmanship may not be up to scratch, so we're having to manage and micromanage a little bit more. So I guess it's that supply line and the trades, pricing that trades are charging because they know, and I'm pretty sure it's Australia wide. They know they can charge more. And if they're younger, they don't realise that the older trades that are still charging the same fair price that they always charged, plus inflation or whatever, that when times are quiet, the ones who have really ripped off the system, they're not going to be your first port of call. So I think that's really good. I think sometimes social media and other TV shows and things that people are exposed to creates unrealistic expectations. And I think that's hard to deal with. There's a lot of product on the market. So people are finding it more difficult to make decisions. And I often, and this is ongoing, it's not just now, I think this is one of the biggest problems I find, is that a lot of people, they build for other people. It has to be almost impressive. They forget to go back to the basics and what they want. And it's all about making an impression or for resale. Sometimes if it's going to be what you think is your forever home, even if it's not, it's okay to do a few unusual things that might be just who you are. So it's about, I think, trying to maintain who you are and talk to the designer about that instead of you're being told to do that. You should have this by social media, or you should have this, or you should have that. I think people are finding it really harder to know what they want, and as a designer, it's harder for us to be able to provide what they want if they can't communicate really well.
And I do think that's really interesting. Like, there is a lot of like noise out there. Like, people are so bombarded with so much information that is not always accurate. And so I think our jobs as designers is harder than ever, because you kind of battling with that kind of, well, why can't you turn it around in that time? Or why can't we do that? And it's like, it's just not physically possible. Like, so I think as a designer, that real skill of being able to communicate to clients and break through all that noise is more important than ever. And as a newer designer, that can be hard, because quite often that skill comes from confidence, because you've done it before, or you've got the relationships with, like, I think relationships with builders are so important, because you can really kind of, you know, run past an idea with them, and say, like, can you actually build that before you talk to the client? So I think as young designers, that can be so one of the hardest things, to kind of break through that noise and really show the client that you have the confidence and the skills to actually know what you're talking about, which is why they're paying for you and have engaged you. But getting that balance right, I think, is one of the hardest things for new designers.
Yeah, and it's, you want to deliver the dream, but the house also has to be your home. A lot of my work, it's not all the same, whereas sometimes you'll see a look and that's the only look people will do.
Yeah.
I like to get to know the person and be able to provide and work through all what you're saying, all that bombardment of a particular look that might be on trend as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most difficult, actually. People slowing down, your clients sitting in front of you and slowing down enough, taking a deep breath and being able to listen to them and try and work out what they want. That takes so much longer now, because we have to work through, as you said, we have to work through all that noise, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients will say, oh, you go on Pinterest, do you want to do a Pinterest board? Nothing against Pinterest, really great. But I'm there like, no, I don't want to share your Pinterest board. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. And by all means, show me some of the lovely ideas, because it's happened to me before, and I would get 3 pages of 3 pages of bathrooms, and they're all different, and I then have to find a common thread.
Yeah.
3 hours to work through. Oh, okay, we've got oak coloured cupboards, that's a common thread. We've got light walls. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes, and also if people sit and think, they do know what they want. They might not know how to say that. So we as designers have to know how to ask the right questions to be able to deliver the right end result.
Yeah. Oh gosh, so true. So true. So tell me, what are you looking forward to in your business for the next 12 months?
Just getting some of the organisational skills right. I think to still, once again, improve on the practicalities and the time for the designers, because some of the things that I thought would look great, like having samples in boxes and things like that, it takes longer to pilfer through the box. So it might be that we'll do some more wall mounted, where you can just visually, okay, I can see that. And just making sure that we are still bringing everything to the designers to keep them happy as well. We want them to be happy. We want them to be successful. We are always trying to change things. I can't see that in myself I'm going to be doing anything different to what I do here. It's more improving the space, expanding what we can do to help. Also, any designers, they don't have to necessarily join. They can still come in and hire a space as a one-off. And we've probably got 22 girls on our invite list for products, but we might not see them regularly. They might just say, oh, great, we'll come to an invite. That sort of thing. I'd like the girls to be able to feel comfortable enough to come in, and if they want to put some dinner on, or if they want to sit and have a glass of wine, I want them to be able to feel more comfortable using the resources, not just when there's a client here. It's slowly, but everyone's just a bit busy, and it's this Christmas rush period. That's what I would like. I would like them to have more relaxation in the use of the space. And I always contact them and say, oh, I haven't seen you for a few weeks. Why don't you come in and do some flat lays for your socials, or is there anything you need, or what's going on? So that's what I would like. So it's a bit more revolving door.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, definitely.
going as they please, not just making appointments. I just like it when they pop in and grab a sample. It's like that's really where I'd like them to be, where it's
Yeah.
totally used as a full-on resource centre.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So really, I suppose the business evolving kind of as it grows,
Yeah.
which is always
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
how can our community get in contact with you and Design Home on Churchill?
Well, you know, through Instagram, through 4 Rooms or Design Home on Churchill, or just through my website, which is 4 Rooms Design.
Yeah.
And then it's got a separate link on there that's just called Design Home.
Yeah.
And from our Instagram, Design Home on Churchill, you'll see that, you know, every month we try and promote one of the girls. They'll provide us with a picture and a little blurb about what they like doing.
Yeah.
And on the website, we eventually will have hopefully a link down the bottom so that anyone who comes to my page can also check out other designers that they might feel are more relatable to what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the main reasons. Or if someone's in Perth and they just want to pop in, by all means, just pop in.
Awesome. And we will link to all of that in the show notes. Jane, thank you so much for this chat. I have loved it. And I'm very envious of all of the team over that are part of Design Home on Churchill, because it does sound like a very idyllic workspace that you have created.
I hope so. That we're working towards that, but I'd like you, anytime you're here, pop over.
I definitely will. I'm due a trip to Perth, so I will definitely pop in. Thanks, Jane.
Excellent.
Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next design dialogue.